Look who it is, Elon Musk, sitting down with the all-in besties, specifically discussing Tesla, AI, and the humanoid robot. Grab your popcorn, folks.
Oops.
Shifting gears to AI, Peter was here earlier and he was talking about how so far the only company to really make money off AI is NVIDIA with the chips. Do you have a sense yet of where you think the big applications will be from AI? Is it going to be in enabling self-driving? Is it going to be enabling robots? Is it transforming industries? I mean, it's still, I think, early in terms of where the big business impact is going to be. Do you have a sense yet?
I think the spending on AI probably runs ahead of, it does run ahead of the revenue right now. There's no question about that. But the rate of improvement of AI is faster than any technology I've ever seen by far. And it's, for example, a Turing test used to be a thing. Now, your basic open source random LLM running on a friggin' Raspberry Pi probably could, beat the Turing test. So I think actually, the good future of AI is one of immense prosperity, where there is an age of abundance, no shortage of goods and services. Everyone can have whatever they want, except for things we artificially define to be scarce, like some special artwork. But anything that is a manufactured good or provided service will, I think, with the advent of AI plus robotics, that the cost of goods and services will trend to zero. I'm not saying it'll be actually zero, but it'll be everyone will be able to have anything they want. Mm-hmm. That's the good future. Of course, in my view, that's probably 80% likely. So look on the bright side. Only 20%. 20% probably of annihilation. It's nothing.
Is the 20% what does that look like?
I don't know, man. Frankly, I do have to go engage in some degree of deliberate suspension of disbelief with respect to AI in order to sleep well, and even then, because I think the actual issue, the most likely issue is how do we find meaning in a world where AI can do everything we can do, but better?
Taking a quick pause here, I have a lot of thoughts. Elon Musk has absolutely nailed a critically important point that a lot of people don't seem to be thinking about, but it's going to be a massive issue in the coming years and especially decades. How humans find meaning and purpose in a world where increasingly intelligent, competent, capable humanoid robots driven by AI are able to do anything and everything humans can do faster and better. This is going to be a very serious issue, one I've been discussing for a number of years, and every time I do, I almost get cancelled, but good thing is I don't give a fuck. And let me explain. Men in particular, wait, are you ready? Men and women, believe it or not, are actually different, and men in particular tend to derive the vast majority of their meaning, purpose, through their work/career/mission. And if you ever question whether or not there's some validity in my statement, pay attention to what happens to a man who loses a job and remains unemployed for an extended period of time. You know how this story almost always ends? Downward spiral of depression and self-destruction. Never ends well. Women are a little bit different. I think most emotionally healthy, mentally healthy women, at the end of their lives, if they've had a wonderful family, beautiful children, they'll feel quite fulfilled. Men seem to be quite different here. It's certainly one of the boxes most guys would like to tick, but it is not where most men derive their primary form of fulfillment and meaning. This is going to become very, very problematic for men in particular, not just men, but men in particular, when a robot can now do what they associated their identity and their value with better than they can do, faster, and they lose their job. It's going to be a serious issue we should be thinking about and talking about. Of course, the only reason this happens is because humanity transitions into an era of super abundance, hyper abundance, whereas Musk points out, humanity will enter an era of immense prosperity. There will be no shortage of goods and services, whose costs will trend toward but not actually reach zero. The future is going to be far wilder than people can imagine, driven primarily by AI. I don't think people are ready. I think money is probably going to lose all meaning, although I continue to make decisions as if it won't. And of course, from a Tesla investor's point of view, I have a high level of confidence that Tesla will be one of the companies, probably the company, catalyzing an enormous amount of this change. Remember how Tesla literally forced the entire automotive industry to aggressively move toward electric vehicles? Remember that whole thing? They said they were going to do it and they did it. They're also going to do this with autonomy. E.g., if you don't have autonomous vehicles available to consumers, you're not going to have vehicles at all. And it's also going to happen with humanoid robots. I think Tesla's going to force the entire industry to make these things or get disrupted. Big opportunity.
That is perhaps the bigger challenge. Although, at this point, I know more and more people who are retired, and they seem to enjoy that life. So, but I think that maybe there'll be some crisis of meaning, because the computer can do everything you can do, but better. So maybe that'll be a challenge. But really, you need the sort of end effectors. You need the autonomous cars, and you need the sort of humanoid robots or general purpose robots. But once you have general purpose humanoid robots and autonomous vehicles, you can build anything. And there's, I think that there's no actual limit to the size of the economy. I mean, there's obviously the mass of Earth, like that will be one limit. But the economy is really just the average productivity per person times number of people. That's the economy.
He's right. Let me show you visually what he's talking about. This on screen right now, global GDP, as in the global economy, over time, last, call it 2,000 years. You might notice something on the left here, in trillions of dollars, on the back of technology and some population growth, but predominantly technology. Global productivity, global GDP has gone from approximately fuck all and taken off, going almost completely vertical with no end in sight. A lot of people encounter the idea that useful, intelligent humanoid robots scaling up the pool of global labour, having a massive impact, and we could be talking quadrillions, maybe even quintillions of dollars of GDP over the long term. As soon as they start to think about numbers like that, they immediately go, hang on a minute, and then they just go check what's world GDP today, and instead of engaging their brain, they only get as far as looking at world GDP today, not the trend, and think, hang on, how is it possible that we just keep going up and up? And they go, oh, that's not possible, bro. That's bigger than world GDP today. That's ridiculous. And then they just stop thinking. Can you imagine telling somebody, let's just say, what's 1820, and you're like, hey, bro, check this out, man. In the future, you're going to see an enormous increase in world GDP. In fact, there'll be some guy on something that you can't even conceive of right now, talking to people all over the world instantaneously in 200 years. And world GDP at that time will have increased 100 times. Now, what's really important to understand here is there's an acceleration happening. The rate of AI improvement in particular, as Musk pointed out, is improving faster than any technology ever by a significant margin. In other words, the next 100x in world GDP ain't going to take 200 years. In fact, it could be a matter of decades. And the next 100x after that could be a decade or even a matter of years. And just to be clear, a 10x, not a 100x, a 10x on 120 trillion. We're already over 1 quadrillion. 100x, obviously, around 12 quadrillion. Another 100x on that? I'm not even going to say it. Like I said, the future is going to be far crazier, more wild than you can possibly imagine. Inconceivable.
And if you've got humanoid robots that can do, where there's no real limit on the number of humanoid robots, and they can operate very intelligently, then there's no actual limit to the economy. There's no meaningful limit to the economy.
You guys just turned on Colossus, which is like the largest private compute cluster, I guess, of GPUs anywhere. Is that right?
It's the most powerful supercomputer of any kind.
Which sort of speaks to what David said and kind of what Peter said, which is a lot of the kind of economic value so far of AI has entirely gone to NVIDIA. But there are people with alternatives, and you're actually one with an alternative. Now, you have a very specific case because Dojo is really about images and large images, huge video. So
the Tesla problem is different from the sort of LLM problem. The nature of the intelligence is what matters in the AI is different to the point you just made, which is that in Tesla's case, the context length is very long. So we've got gigabytes of context.
Gigabyte context windows, yeah.
Yeah, you've got sort of.
I was just bringing it up.
Kind of billions of tokens of context,
right.
Nutty amount of context, because you've got seven cameras, and if you've got several, let's say you've got a minute of several high def cameras, then that's gigabytes. So you need to compress. So the Tesla problem is you've got to compress a gigantic context into the pixels that actually matter, and condense that over a time. So you've got to, in both the time dimension, the space dimension. You've got to compress the pixels in space and the pixels over in time, and then have that inference done on a tiny computer, relatively speaking, a small, like a few hundred watts. It's a Tesla-designed AI inference computer, which is, by the way, still the best. There isn't a better thing we could buy from suppliers. So the Tesla-designed AI inference computer that's in the cars is better than anything we could buy from any supplier. Just by the way, that's kind of a.
Well, by the way,
the Tesla AI chip team is extremely good.
Well, you guys, in the design, there was a technical paper and there was a deck that somebody on your team from Tesla published, and it was stunning to me. You designed your own transport control layer over Ethernet. You were like, Ethernet's not good enough for us.
Yeah.
So you had this TT-CoE or something, and you're like, we're just going to reinvent Ethernet and string these chips. It's pretty incredible stuff that's happening over there.
Yeah.
Now, what Chamath has said is true. It's important. What Elon has said is true, important. Their AI chips team, incredible. It's been absolutely painful, however, to watch many automotive analysts doubling down on their absurd claims that Tesla is just a car company. They don't have any technology that, say, for example, Toyota doesn't already have, and to ignore what's been happening before their very eyes. It's not like Tesla's been doing this shit in secret and they're not telling everybody, hey, we're working on AI. They have AI days, autonomy days. They have engineers speaking at chips conferences, showing off their technology in great detail, telling the world, here's what we're working on. Here's the problems we're encountering. Here's how we're solving these problems. Here are it's all out in the open. Yet even as I record this today, it's now September 2024, and the narrative around Tesla among folks on Wall Street, among money managers, is, what about the gross automotive margins? Because all they can see when they look at Tesla is a company that produces vehicles because they have wheels. Therefore, they're a car company and nothing else. The end. I don't need to think anymore. It's absolutely wild. I mean, just think for a moment. Musk pointing out that the Tesla-designed chip is better than anything that they could have purchased from suppliers. So Tesla, who are, quote, just a car company, in another case of, fuck it, we'll just have to do it ourselves, actually did it themselves and have created something that's literally better than anything else available in the marketplace. Do you understand what happens when Tesla puts their big brains to a problem? They create something that is best in class. I'm just kidding. They're just a car company. Nothing to see here. Move along. Still buying Tesla stock, so I don't want people to figure out what's around the corner. Thanks.
Yeah. No, the team, the Tesla chip design team is extremely good.
But is there a world where, for example, other people over time that need, some sort of video use case or image use case could theoretically, you'd say, why not? I have some extra cycles over here, so we should kind of make you a competitor of NVIDIA. It's not intentionally per se, but.
There's this training and inference, and we do have those two projects at Tesla. We've got Dojo, which is the training computer, and then our inference chip, which is in every car, inference computer. And Dojo, we've only had Dojo 1. Dojo 2 is, we should have Dojo 2 in volume towards the end of next year. And that will be, we think, sort of comparable to sort of a B200 type system, a training system. So there's some potential for that to be used as a service.
So just to take a moment here for the Tesla investors who feel like doing the homework, I strongly advise you guys to take the time to just model out what it could potentially look like if this does in fact become a service, e.g. a money printer for Tesla. Much like, for example, Amazon Web Services today, which started out as Amazon serving their own needs, solving their own problem, and they go, shit, you know what, this could be a service for others. That, by the way, Amazon Web Services is the primary driver of the phenomenal growth in Amazon's valuation as a company over the last, let's just call it roughly a decade. Worth taking the time just to consider this possibility. It's not to say it's absolutely guaranteed to happen, but you got to think, what if? And then also, how likely? I'm just kidding. Don't think about Tesla. I'm still buying, so yeah, forget what I said.
Dojo is just kind of like, I mean, I guess I have some improved confidence in Dojo, but I think we won't really know how good Dojo is until probably version 3. It usually takes 3 major iterations on a technology for it to be excellent, and we'll only have the second major iteration next year. The third iteration, I don't know, maybe late, 26 or something like that.
How's the Optimus project going? I remember when we talked last, and you said this publicly, that it's in doing some light testing inside the factory. So it's actually being useful. what's the build of materials and when, for something like that at scale? So when you start making it like you're making the Model 3 now and there's 1 million of them coming off the factory line, what would they cost? $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, you think?
Yeah, I've discovered that really that, anything made in sufficient volume will asymptotically approach the cost of its materials. So now some things are constrained by the cost of intellectual property and like paying for patents and stuff. So a lot of what's in a chip is like paying royalties and depreciation of the chip fab. So, but the actual marginal cost of the chips is very low. So Optimus, it obviously is a humanoid robot. It weighs much less and is much smaller than a car. So you could expect that in high volume, and I'd say that you also probably need three production versions of Optimus. So you need to refine the design at least three major times, and then you need to scale production to sort of the 1 million unit plus per year level. And I think at that point, the cost, the labor and materials on Optimus is probably not much more than $10,000.
So I just want to take a moment here because I know for a fact, I got a crystal ball, you guys probably know that this eventually will be dug back up. So let's be clear. Musk is describing the cost to produce, not the sale price to consumers, the cost to produce Tesla's Optimus humanoid robot over time, at scale, subsequent generations, potentially around $10,000. He did not say that we will be selling them for $10,000. That is cost to produce. Very different things. That said, and I actually don't think I've heard Musk say this, so, hey, who knows? But the wrong way to think about Optimus in terms of Tesla investors and modeling things out is how much Tesla's charging customers for the hardware. The right way to think about Optimus is how much is Tesla charging customers for the software. For example, the right way to think about Tesla's FSD business is not how much is Tesla selling their vehicles for, it's what are they charging monthly for FSD. And one way to think about this, just imagine a miraculous scenario in which Tesla does actually successfully create a useful humanoid robot at scale, one that can begin replacing workers, including, like, for example, some low-hanging fruit, a United Auto Workers Union member, average compensation costs the companies over $100,000. If you've got a robot that can replace a human, you have to pay, let's just call it $100,000, keep it a nice round number. How much as a company would you be willing to pay for the software to operate the robot that can produce $100,000+ worth of work per year? All other things being equal, I guess the upper limit, you'd probably be willing to pay a comparable amount because it's the same shit. But I suspect that Tesla's going to offer a much more competitive product than that. Even on the extreme low end, imagine they're charging $1,000 per month for the software. That employee costs you $12,000 a year versus $100,000+ for a human. A pretty good fucking deal. You're making almost a 10 times return now. So that humanoid robot then, that Musk just mentions Tesla could produce for $10,000, who cares what they sell it for, each year could be bringing in over $10,000 of profit to Tesla every year in perpetuity. That's how to think about the Optimus humanoid robot, in my opinion. This is how I'm thinking about it. This is how I've modeled it out in my Tesla valuation model, which for the new folks, and believe it or not, there are new folks every single video, you can access my Tesla valuation model. It goes over the next 10 years. It's on Patreon. Click the link in the pinned comment and join at the investor level and above to have a peek. Full disclosure, Optimus doesn't start having a major impact until well into the 2030s. However, it still starts to move the needle even in my 10-year valuation window.
And that's a decade-long journey, maybe?
Basically, think of it like the Optimus will cost less than a small car.
Right.
So at scale volume with 3 major iterations of technology, and so if a small car, costs $25,000, it's probably like $20,000 for an Optimus, for a humanoid robot that can be your buddy, like a combination of R2D2 and C3PO, but better.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think people are going to get really attached to their humanoid robot because, like you look at you watch Star Wars and it's like R2D2 and C3PO. I love those guys.
Yeah.
They're awesome. And their personality and all R2 could do is just beep at you. Right. and couldn't speak English. You need C3PO to translate the beeps.
So you're in year 2 of that. If you did 2 or 3 years per iteration or something, it's a decade-long journey for this to hit some sort of scale. And
I would say major iterations are less than 2 years. So
okay.
It's probably on the order of 5 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 to get to 1 million units a year.
Okay, so I've got to take a moment here because every time I hear a potential prediction, an estimate, keeping in mind that I think Musk and I both have a bit of an optimism bias. By the way, how do you know if somebody on average probably does have an optimism bias? They don't work for somebody. They're not somebody's bitch. They do their own thing. They're their own company, their own business. They create their own content. That's a really easy tell almost immediately. Is somebody skewed a little bit more toward optimism? Somebody who's much more pessimistic on things. Well, I'm scared. What if it doesn't work out? So they don't try. People who try typically tend to be a little bit more optimistic. So keep that in mind. I definitely have an optimism bias, as does Musk. That said, every time I hear an estimate, I always think, shit. Let's see how that compares to the base case, which is what I assign the 69% probability in my Tesla valuation model. It's not a prediction of what will happen. It's just like, okay, well, what's my best guess at a fairly likely outcome? This is the first time that I can recall Musk throwing a number out there other than potentially mentioning maybe a few thousand Optimus spots in Tesla factories next year. So let's see how that compares to the current base case in my Tesla valuation model, which again, you can find on Patreon. Click the link at the pinned comment and join at the investor level and above. So he said, what, half a decade from now, 5 or 6 years? So that would be, let's call it 2029, 2030, somewhere around there, right? I'm not very good at math, but let's say 24. Add 5 or 6 years, it's about 2030. And I'm just looking now at my base case, and if any of my Patreon members want to fact check me in real time with the current latest version of the valuation model, which you'll have on your desktop, I have Tesla bot sales estimated in the base case, 2029, 600,000, 2030, 1.2 million. The average across those 2 years, about 900,000. Well, what do you fucking know? Of course, given the fact that Musk and I both seem to be too optimistic, you can probably cut that number down. But the point is, how curious. It seems like we've fallen on a very similar estimate for bot production independently of one another. How curious. So back to the earlier example. So let's just imagine that in addition to producing 1 million humanoid robots in 2030, Tesla has also already produced 1 million in the preceding years, ramping up exponentially, right? So they'd have 2 million humanoid robots. Just some quick math here. To emphasize the point about software to operate these things being ridiculous in terms of a Tesla investor's point of view. If we multiply 2 million humanoid robots, let's just say it's $1,000 per month, times 12 months. In 2030, year end, Tesla's fleet of humanoid robots, at this point, they've only produced in total 2 million, but they're at an annualized rate of 2 million. So the next year, that's could be doing $24 billion of software revenue with extremely high profit margins. I mean, this is going to be absurd. As software, remember, you just press a fucking button and now suddenly the customer is paying you $1,000 a month for software that already exists. Now, I'm just going to say this again. This example was for a scenario in 2030. Can you imagine Tesla in 2030? Making, let's just call it $24 billion of profits just from the humanoid robot business when it's barely even off the ground? I'm just kidding. They're just a car company. Nothing to see here. Bye.
At that price point, everybody can afford one on
Yes.
planet Earth. I mean, it's going to be that 1-to-1, 2-to-1. What do you think ultimately, if we're sitting here in 30 years, the number of robots on the planet versus humans?
Yeah, I think the number of robots will vastly exceed the number of humans.
Vastly, yeah.
Vastly
Okay.
exceed. I mean, you have to.
Just one additional comment. We just saw the implications of 2 million, with an M, million humanoid robots, $1,000 a month, $24 billion a year of profit, give or take. Today, there's roughly 8 billion humans on Earth, a number that vastly exceeds 8 billion, probably, at least double, triple, maybe a lot more than that. So we're talking tens of billions of potential humanoid robots, not 2 million, tens of billions. What's Tesla's slice of that? How much per month are they paying for software? And the answer is, holy fuck.
Yeah, like who would not want their robot buddy? Everyone wants a robot buddy.
Totally.
It's just like, especially if it can, it can take care of take your dog for a walk. It could, mow the lawn. It could watch your kids. It could, it could teach your kids. It could.
But we could also send it to Mars. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
We could send a lot of robots to Mars to do the work needed to
Yeah.
make it a colonized planet for
And
humans.
Mars is already the robot planet. There's like a whole bunch of
Yeah.
robots, like rovers and
only robots.
helicopter. Yeah, it's only robots.
Yeah.
I think the sort of useful humanoid robot opportunity is the single biggest opportunity ever.
He's not wrong. Well, please, if you think he is, explain in the comments a bigger opportunity. I'll wait. And bringing this back to a Tesla investor's point of view, if humanoid robots are the biggest opportunity ever, and Tesla's pursuing the biggest opportunity ever, would it be worth considering the possible implications of Tesla being successful in pursuing the biggest opportunity ever and modeling this out for yourself? No, definitely not. They're just a car company. Please don't even think about the possible implications. I'm still buying the stock. So, moving on.
Because if you assume like that, I mean, I think the ratio of humanoid robots to humans is going to be at least 2 to 1, maybe 3 to 1. Because everybody will want one, and then there'll be a bunch of robots that you don't see that are making goods and services.
And you think it's a one generalized robot that then learns how to do different tasks, or?
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, we are a generalized.
Yeah, we're a generalized non-robot.
We're just made of meat.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
We're a meat bot, a generalized meat bot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm operating my meat puppet, you know. We are actually.
I'm gonna have it.
And by the way, it turns out, like, as we're designing Optimus, we sort of learn more and more about why humans are shaped the way they're shaped, and why we have 5 fingers and why your little finger is smaller than your index finger. Obviously why you have opposable thumbs, but also why, for example, the major muscles that operate your hand are actually in your forearm, and your fingers are primarily operated like. The muscles that actuate your fingers are located. The vast majority of your finger strength is actually coming from your forearm, and your fingers are being operated by tendons, little strings. And so the current version of the Optimus hand has the actuators in the hand and has only 11 degrees of freedom. So it doesn't have all the degrees of freedom of human hand, which has, depending on how you count it, roughly 25 degrees of freedom. And it's also like not strong enough in certain ways because the actuators have to fit in the hand. So the next generation Optimus hand, which we have in prototype form, the actuators have moved to the forearm, just like a human, and they operate the fingers through cables, just like a human hand. And then the next generation hand has 22 degrees of freedom, which we think is enough to do almost anything that a human can do.
And presumably, I think it was written that X and Tesla may work together and provide services, but my immediate thought went to, if you just provide a grok to the robot, then the robot has a personality and can process voice and video and images and all of that stuff.
Yeah, as we wrap here.
A lot of juicy nuggets for Tesla investors in this discussion. By the way, you guys should check out the full conversation with Elon Musk. Goes absolutely off the rails from here on out. But trolling aside, I just have to underscore again, please take the time to model out the possible implications with Tesla's humanoid robot. Musk is not joking when he describes this as the biggest opportunity ever. It's not even close. I cannot believe today there are people still myopically focused on Tesla's automotive business and gross automotive margins. And right now, and you better believe I'll be roasting the fuck out of these people in the future when they go, oops, how could we possibly have seen that coming? It's not just that the humanoid robot opportunity is far and away the biggest ever. It's that Tesla is in an incredible position to take a huge slice of this market. As I've said many times in the past, what they've done with FSD, they've been able to transplant the brain into the robot, built the foundation of vision. No other company on earth has data at scale around computer vision to do the same thing. So how in the fuck will they be able to develop a comparably competent humanoid robot? And the answer is, they can't. Something to consider. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. There's plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens, now AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend, seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game has improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.